In the upper right, in the red, he actually playing pretty well right now. He's the Terran player. It's Bunny. And in the upper left, in the blue, he's been one of the best Protoss players in Korea as of late. His name, of course, is Classic. And man, this Twisted Minds brain trust is actually kind of nutty. It's so Twisted Minds, and for those of you that don't have news, Classic's been on Twisted Minds for about a year. He actually was a significant contributor into why Twisted Minds won the last year Gamers 8. Now they're calling it the Esports World Cup, but the Gamers 8 team challenge last year, because he made top 4, top 8, I think it was, in that Gamers 8 tournament. Had a really nice run. A really, really solid run. Overperformed pretty much any other Protoss at the tournament. And now we're looking here in Twisted Minds. Yesterday they announced it, but it was kind of a open secret before then because he was playing for them in the WTL. But Twisted Minds announced that they've also signed stats to their Starcraft 2 roster. So Twisted Minds now is stats and Classic, and I think that's it. They're partnered with a smaller team for a WTL. But anyway, they got that one. There's a brain trust here. You got the Chin Toss, you got the Shield of Ire. They're better nicknames for Classic, but for whatever reason, Chin Toss is the one that just always comes to mind. Anyway, you got this incredible pairing of Protoss players that, I don't know how much. It's always interesting in the post-Kespa era, or the post-Team House era. It's like, how much do they actually practice with each other? I don't know. But they are on the same team. That's actually super exciting. Not the least of which, because you love to see players get supported like this. Anything we can see happen to make sure that the game continues to grow, or at least to stay stable, is really awesome news. It's also really interesting. So we've seen a lot. Virtus Pro just picked up Estrella. We saw other teams. Cloud9 picked up Gumiho, right? Like bunch of different, really a ton of different teams picking up different players. They're all like signing one player, right? They're like, yep, this is our contributor to, Gaming Gladiators picked up Shin. They're like, yep, this is our entry into the Starcraft tournament for the Esports World Cup for the team challenge. We just need one player. Like, well, yeah, but if you're trying to win the team challenge, signing more players gives you a better opportunity to go and make that happen, which is why Vitality's pickup of the entirety of Onside Gaming of their top players is actually super impactful. And the Hellions are going to dive in here. One dies very quickly. Reaper's trying to dive in as well, but already damage has been removed. 2 workers going down here. Bunny looking for a little bit more, looking for that lineup. He's not going to get it. But even still, 3 Reapers, 2-shot probes, 4 workers go down. The Reapers die on the backside. 4 workers? I don't feel like that was enough. I feel like you want to be at 5 or 6. I feel like you want a little bit more than that, but anyways, Classic. 2-gate Colossus opener on a single gateway? Double gate. So yeah, 2-gate Colossus opener. And getting ready here. Obviously, no blink just yet. No, there was no Twilight on the way. I just hallucinated that one. So Classic playing very defensively here. And the interesting thing about this is very counter to how a lot of Protoss players are playing the game. Like generally, a Protoss player is going to go, they're going to open blink. It gives them aggressive options that lets them kind of cross the map, lets them put pressure on their opponent's face. Which you talk to some Protoss players, they say, look, just letting a Terran macro, disaster. Not worth it. I don't feel happy about this one whatsoever. We're just not going to do it. So I need to go and I need to put pressure on the Terran. I need to make them uncomfortable. And that is not how Classic is choosing to play this game. Instead, it's just a 2-gate Colossus opener. He's going to get his third base a little bit. No, actually, this started right around 3:45, so not that crazy of a timing. Pretty decent timing, actually. So he's going to have that one set up. Third base on the way, and just play defensively for now, which, as much as I say, hey, you talk to a lot of Protoss players, they say X, Y, and Z about, I want to be aggressive. I want to be able to have tempo and power on the map to make it so the Terran players are uncomfortable. I think there's an argument to be made that this build is a little bit map specific. Getting a couple Colossus out by the time the Terran wants to run across the map with their assumed 2-base push, which is exactly, by the way, what Bunny's going for. Once the Terran is, getting a bunch of Colossus out for that time is actually really nice because look, a Terran player attacking through here, 2 Colossus, annihilate this. 3 Colossus, even more so, but you know, Colossus annihilate attack through this choke. Through the middle, it's a little scarier because you put tanks right around the corner. It's hard for Colossus to make contact, but that's why you open, you know, early Robo Colossus. That means that you have extended thermal lance on time. So all of this together, Classic, if you hold the high ground, this is actually a pretty solid position to go defend into as the army moves out now. Do we have... There's a Raven, okay, but there's no interference matrix. And Classic was actually in a really nice position to go and force this army off before they get the siege up. This army is so much scarier once the siege up happens. Oh, big shot on the sentries. So their Guardian shield power is not going to be very much a thing anymore. We're going to see shield batteries go up here, but the first one on the floor aggressively went down. We're going to see Observer go down as well. So life is getting already a little difficult for Classic. Not impossible. But this attack is already doing a really nice job of shutting down some of the infrastructure that Classic would have liked to rely on for the defense. And again, Bunny, he's rallying over behind this, adding in extend or concussive shells, certainly third base on the way. But for right now, it really is all about this 2-base push coming out of, well, coming out of Bunny. Charge will be done, but not in time for this defense. So Classic, what timing are you pulling the trigger here? Are you truly going to wait for +1? Are you truly going to wait for charge? Do you think you can make that happen in time? I mean, he does have a shield battery. He can heal up the Nexus. He can eat a lot of damage in this army. Maybe it's just a 3rd Colossus timing. So we're looking at 2 tanks right now. 3 tanks, 1 shot at Colossus is how kind of the math goes. But 2 tanks are pretty solid. We're going to see this Nexus take heavy damage. There's their 3rd Colossus here. Charge, so +1's done now. Charge is probably about 20 seconds out. Shield battery overcharge is keeping the Nexus alive for the time being. Classic thinks he can wait for charge. I guess he's now going to move Colossus a little bit further forward to shut down, well, whatever he can. List the Widow Mines to make that happen. Now force fields go forward here. Zealot charge is not done yet, but he does knock a bunch of the Marines down. Now the force field's working very much against him here, making sure the Zealots take a lot of damage, but the tanks will fall down. Classic continues to move forward. And nice patience out of Classic, actually. That worked out really nicely for him. Yeah, you know, he lost a lot of Zealots, lost some sentries, but his Colossus are still standing. Really, the singular Viking didn't do a lot. I mean, it died. There is that. And Classic, okay, he's going to go up to 4 Colossus here. I really like this. Given everything that Bunny is committed to, given how Bunny has decided to play the game up until this point, committing to 4 Colossus, well, means you have this nice timing with probably +2, with +2 in Blink and everything else, but you can run across the map with this army that is very hard for Bunny to defend. Bunny only just now really, I guess he's got 5 Vikings. I was going to say only just now really getting into the Viking production, but he's actually been pumping them out pretty decently. So, 4 Colossus on the map. Templar Archives is done. Classic, I wouldn't be surprised to just see a couple Archons and go, he may wait a little bit, probably, yeah, +2 for the War Prism for all of that one, and that means it's kind of incumbent upon Bunny here to make it so Classic can't move out. That actually is a really solid thing you can do on Ghost River. Because of the base positioning and because of all kind of these small chokes and areas and the very quick rush distance, natural to natural, but a little bit longer elsewhere, you can kind of posture on the bottom side and attack through the middle and make it really hard for the Protoss player to ever move out because you just threaten the counterattacks over and over and over again. We saw Future just kind of annihilate Disc doing that in a game that he shouldn't have won back in ESL Masters Regionals. Now, granted, you know, Korean PVT and North American PVT are different, certainly, and I would argue that Bunny and Classic are a lot closer together skill level wise than, say, the Disc and Future were in that tournament. Disc has been very good in the past, but Future was kind of very clearly the better player in ESL Masters. Really, was it top 4? I think he had a run. Top 4, top 6. He had a pretty solid run. But anyway, with these 4 Colossus, yes, they are a problem, but there are a decent amount of Vikings on the map right now. 11 Vikings, so right around that 3. Really, the number is 2 to 3. The way Terran players are playing right now, Vikings per Colossus to make sure you're happy. So he's right around that 3 number to make sure these Colossus get 2 taps. So that's a lot of supply that Classic has available to himself that it's just really hard to make something happen with. War Prism Well, not on the map right now. Another Colossus taken. Pot shots here. There's no shield battery, no overcharge to keep it alive. And yes, the Vikings are slowly dying, but the Colossus are dying just a lot faster. Bunny fighting around a corner here. And that is, oh man, as a Terran player, you love that one. Classic can just not bring the majority of his DPS to bear in a way that Bunny absolutely can. So he kites away. Zealots continue to go down. More Zealots warped in, of course. And Classic, despite losing all of his Colossus and fighting around a corner and having this really awkward setup, is taking a pretty reasonable fight, all things considered. This army is heavily overstimmed. Bunny continues to kind of weigh, sure, loses it, kills the Zealots, sure, but this is a really good fight for Classic. All things considered, surprisingly good for Classic. And now that he killed the majority of the Vikings, well, I guess there are 5 of them on the map still. I thought he killed more than that. He's going back into the Colossus production again, and I don't know that we're going to see Bunny rebuild the Viking count. So Classic stays alive, keeps his 4th base. He's on 75 workers. His income is, roughly even, a little bit better over time than Bunny's. Of course, Mulehammer says, Bunny's building a ton more minerals right now. That's fair. But over time, right? Classic's economy just going to be reasonably just a little bit better. But there's a 4th base here. A single Zealot does not contest this. So Classic, +1 armor, done. Storm, just about done. Halfway done here, but he chronoed out. It's a reasonably fast upgrade. +3 attack on the way, +2 armor. The question, really, that we ask ourselves, though, as Classic gets himself into this game, is whether how quick / is there a late game transition? Does he drop double Stargate? Does he go into the Fleet Beacon? Is this a carrier game out of Classic? Because Classic is one of those Protoss players. Estrella is probably the other one that is really, that we talk about, that really does this. That likes to go into Sky Tunnels. That really does enjoy that carrier type of setup. Now, this map may be too spread out for that. Because yeah, the core 4 are fairly close, but 5th base is very far away, and you kind of look at other ways to play it as a Zealot or this Adept. Get 7 probes actually, really, or 7 SCVs, a really nice attack. So yeah, the core 4 are reasonably close together. It's the kind of the reinforcing lines that are the problem, but 5th and 6th bases are very, very far away. His EMP is on this, and more importantly, EMP on all the High Templar there. So these just have to be Archons. Stalker's blink forward, and that is just, it doesn't feel good there. Ooh, there was a Storm available. I thought all High Templar had run out of energy. Apparently that is not the case. So more Archons are going to get made here. Liberators get the siege up. So these Archons are going to take a lot of damage when they pop. One's dead. All right, so Classic here's 5th base is on the way. Both players, they're maxed out. 2nd Robo getting, we were only on single Robo. I assumed that there was a double Robo. No, single Robo. Disruptor's getting it now added into this composition, but as Liberators hit the field here, and now there's no Fusion Core, right? So there's no Liberator range. There's nothing like that. But even still, Liberators on the map makes this life a little bit more complicated. Stalkers blink for the Concave. And this is a potentially solid fight for Classic. Now, with the running back behind the Liberators makes life a little bit scary. Colossus, well, a lot of the Vikings on the right side go down. A lot of the army on the ground's going down here. Liberators going down to the backside as well. This Concave is beautiful out of Classic. Now, the bio is absolutely scary, but it's only 2-1. The upgrades here absolutely winning the day. Classic takes an incredible fight, knocks down everything, and yes, he loses a lot of his gateway or his Robotech. It doesn't matter. Classic, a beautiful fight. Takes game 1, and he moves up 1-0. Alcyone, map number 2. Bunny did a really nice job in the mid-game of forcing fights around corners, and I know I talk about this a lot. I know other people don't talk about it maybe quite as much, which is fair. You know, you all have your different priorities or things you notice, but corners are a Terran player's best friend. The average attack range of a Terran ball is a little bit lower than, say, a Protoss, especially with like Colossus and Stalkers and things. But a Terran ball clumps up more, right? Stalkers are big units; they're bulky units. Marines, they get up right in their business. So if you keep your ball around a corner. Pathing means that the attack generally tends to get spread out. If you attack around that corner, you don't have a concave anymore. What it means at the end of the day is that, say, maybe 80% of a Terran's army, Terran's DPS is concentrated on only like 10% maybe of the Protoss army is able to bring their talents to bear at any given time. And what that means is that you just shred things. Like all the zealots go down, single file around the corner, stalkers join. It's like, oh man, this is rough. This is not how I want to play. This is not how I want my life to be. So Bunny did a really nice job of forcing those in game number 1. Did a really nice job. The attack around the 4th base. Unfortunately, the rest of his attacks just didn't work out in the same way. The attack on the 3rd, Classic was so defensive. Holomine Zero asks how I made the recap graphs that I showed between games. And if you're on YouTube, well, you're just gonna have to check me out on the live stream to see what we're talking about. But how I made the recap graphs between games. And well, so it's pretty cool. There's an API or a Python. There's a Python library that allows me to go and decompile and parse the most recent replay in a folder. Well, a little bit more code than that, but I pull the most recent replay that exists on my PC. And then I go and I what's the word? English is hard. And I go and I parse the replay and I take the upgrade timings and the supply delta, so you can kind of pull the supply of any given player at a given time step, and I pull the supply of both players and I subtract them off from each other. So you look at that plot is not, well, it's not, yeah, it's supply deltas. Who has more? So if I have 95 and my opponent has 105, it's gonna show plus 10 for my opponent, and then that goes into a browser source that properly that pulls the data and using a JavaScript library plots it. I think I use Plotly. So yeah, we got a Phoenix opener out of Classic. Phoenix Colossus is going to be the order of the day most likely. Maybe Phoenix. Classic's a decent fan of Phoenix Charge. That's what he was doing. He kind of forcibly dragged that thing back into the meta back when he came back from the military, and I was gonna say, yeah, maybe, but he's on 4 gas, right? There's a Robo also on the way, so that's a good tell. But in general, he's a fan of both styles. But for now, it's gonna be Phoenix Colossus coming out in game number 2 on Alcyone, and it's interesting seeing Classic play these very defensive styles, these very robo tech heavy styles in this matchup, because generally I don't feel like we've been seeing most Protoss players, again, we talked about this, they tend to be aggressive. It's gonna be 3-gate blank, it's gonna be 4-gate blank, it's maybe if you talk about Nightmare and Firefly, it's gonna be very gateway focused, it's gonna be gateway man focused in the mid game. 8-gate charge, maybe not even a Colossus, maybe not even anything like that, but just again very aggressive play, trying to match the Terran in the middle of the map. And Classic's playing very differently here. We saw just a 2-gate Colossus opener in game number 1. Game 2, Phoenix Colossus. Yes, there's an Immortal on the way, but rest assured there will eventually be Colossus on the map once the Robo is done. And the Phoenix are going to look for damage. They're not going to find it. Not with a Viking and a Cyclone and these Marines right there. They're not going to find anything in the main base. Maybe the natural, but plenty of Marines set up there as well. So they're going to continue to shark around, certainly. But this is all about defending the 3rd base. This is all about making sure that nothing really happens. And Classic, for his part, if he doesn't get any damage done with the Phoenix, he's not unhappy. He's not upset about, oh, well, I didn't kill 10 workers, so the game is over. No. He'd like to get some damage done. He's going to dive in, get a couple. Oh, right as the Marines move out. This is beautiful. But it's actually kind of an interesting balance you have to strike as a, okay, knocking down Marines. That's actually arguably even better. It's an interesting balance you have to strike as the Phoenix player, because there are two sides of it. Yes, getting damage done is really important, but you also want to make sure you have lifts to go and deal with the army that's attacking on the other side. As a Widow Mine goes down, Phoenix will get traded for it. That doesn't feel great. But our first Colossus just about to hit the map here. Extended Thermal Lance, not ready, not just yet. But this attack from Bunny coming out in earnest. I love that from Classic as well. Denies the 3rd base here. So Bunny, yeah, he's got his 3rd base on the way. He's going to send another SCV over to start it, but he does delay that one. Anything he can do to buy time here is super important. But Bunny, realizing here's the Widow Mines, are going to get some massive shots here, but down the ramp, Classic misses his force fields. Bunny, realizing the Phoenix are on the other side, he's going to try to drop into the main base. That's not going to work, though. Classic gets back in time. Classic does take some damage on the Widow Mines, absolutely, but he's handling this again so nicely. And now 2nd Colossus is done. Well, Now, okay, there we go. Second Colossus is done. Third one on the way soon enough. More Phoenix getting added in here. Fourth base is going to get started soon enough, and Bunny's third base isn't done yet. Classic for right now is actually holding on really, really strong. And again, it's one of those questions that as we talk about, and you know, Artosis has got to be super happy right now. He put that video together about how we just need defensive Protoss players, defensive macro Protoss players. Well, Classic in this series is absolutely doing that. Stats has been doing a pretty solid job of that as well, actually, recently. Field of Ire and all that, but this is a problem here. That is 5 medevacs into the natural, getting on top of the tech, getting on top of stuff. And the Phoenix can react fairly quickly. Notice they just lift the Widow Mines because everything else can be dealt with this Colossus with everything else. So what did we lose here? A couple workers went down. Looks like maybe 4 workers dropped in the main base. Phoenix are going to knock these down. There's no attack into the third base as well, which is what you would kind of expect with this to pair this up. The army is there, but it's not really doing anything, as this is a one-way trip to ticket to hell. Bunny is not getting the damage he needs with this whatsoever. We're going to take a look what's lost at the end of the day as the Phoenix continue to try to chase this down. Another medevac falls down. Stalkers are here. Everything's dead. Bunny has thrown so much away for the grand total of 15 probes. It's something. It's something, but it is not nearly good enough. And now Bunny, yeah, he's got his third base done. Trap, you know, in fairness, Trap never got his fourth base. This was heavy pressure. He never got his fourth base done. His economy's only on 58 probes. He wants to be, I guess, more than that before he goes elsewhere. And the Phoenix count has been reduced. It's only 3. It's not the, or what was the math? Yeah, 7 that he previously had, which is, so those are things that we're looking at here as Bunny kind of rallies through the middle, army on the right side. He's continuing to try to swarm Classic. And in fairness, that can be pretty powerful. Fourth base on the north side potentially is not going to get much done either. Widow Mines, a little bit scary there. A little bit scary. Vikings actually doing a really nice job bodyguarding here for the medevacs to try to get out. But Stalkers, are they going to be able to get on top of this? Not really. This Marine knocking the pylon down eventually as well. Classic does need a fourth base. Classic does need a fourth base. Stalkers in the main base. Well, they're going to knock a medevac down. This drop's going to get up. But, you know, well, the 2 Phoenix here are just going to dive on top of this. Eventually, Zealots join the fray. And, well, as the Marines go down, this one very low Phoenix is going to clean it all up, or at least make life pretty complicated. And now, Classic's the one getting aggressive here. Damage on a Colossus, sure, fine. But what do we have on the other side? Actually, a decent army for Bunny. This is not going to be an easy attack for Classic to find. Stalkers are going to have to move on top. Flank coming in from both sides, but the Colossus aren't dying yet. War Prison, though, is dead. And without the War Prison, that does mean there really is no save for these Colossus, but Zealot's getting damage done. Colossus will die. It's getting a little bit awkward here for Classic. He's really awkward, but he can maybe fight around the corner, fight away from things, retreat back, and let the rest of his army join the fray. Feedback to kill off one of the medevacs. I know there's only one medevac in this army trying to run away, pick up, run away, Bunny on the other side of things, because this slow reinforcing line of Classic is getting so much done. 43 workers to 66. Classic, again, he'd love a fourth base, doesn't have it. When he has done so much to his opponent, it's not, you don't hate it. He's still in a pretty reasonable position. This Widow Mine is, it's pound of flesh. Bye-bye. But yeah, not your mom's mom. You talk about wanting to run through a bunch of data and kind of train a model on figuring out what's most important. That would be super cool, actually. Join my Discord. We'll talk about this after that. Because I don't have the time or necessarily the training to train a model to go and properly figure that out. But if you could do that and then have effectively an algorithmic win chance idea that you could put together, say, like, given the story of a replay, you go and you say this is the win chance, or even better. Oh, that'd be super cool. You could do it with OCR. You could actually read the, obviously you can't go and read the game state live as it's happening. Starcraft doesn't give that, but you can kind of do OCR from the observer interface and see when upgrades start and things like that. If you could do that one, that would be super cool. It's Bunny here. He's pulled the boys, though. We'll talk about that in a second. This is a massive attack. A lot of Widow Mines go down before getting their shots off here. Classic continues to cut away. Overcharge is going to get taken down. The single Viking doing what it can here. And Classic pulls the probes into this. He understands that if he holds this fight, it doesn't matter what happens. He wins the game. 3 Colossus on the high ground. Says, absolutely not, Bunny. You don't get to make that happen. Not in this game. Bunny is dead. Classic holds on. And he moves on to the round of 8 here. Well done, Classic.